Maggie Cook. Maggie, where are you? Begin coming on up here, if you will. Maggie is a 2002 graduate of the University of Charleston. She came here and majored in interior design. And I remember seeing her about the first day that she was on campus. This somewhat petite, at least to me, student coming here from Mexico, did not know a lot of English, came from a very, very large family and was coming here to get an education. It was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. She also came here to play basketball. She now is not famous either because of interior design or basketball, but something having to do with
Maggie Salsa.
Salsa. Some of the salsa that you ate during the reception is her salsa. So we wanted her to tell you a little bit about her experience. So it's a phenomenal story that I hope she tells you.
Good evening. My name is Maria Magdalena de la Cruzco Garcia, but you can call me Maggie. I am the founder of Maggie Salsa LLC, a fresh salsa company, salsa and dip company that distributes products across the United States. Going back to where I came from, I was born and raised in Mexico in an orphanage. I have 68 brothers and sisters. That's them. My parents legally adopted 60 abused and neglected children, and of course there was 8 of us biological kids. My parents have been missionaries in Mexico for over 35 years. They've cared for over 200 children. And as a medical doctor, my father gave medical attention and medication to the poor for free and operated on over 36,000 patients throughout the years. I'm going to share a couple of slides of my family, a couple of my little adopted siblings. Talu, Gloria, Anabel, Angelica. Every one of these kids has a tremendous story because every one of them, almost every one of them were abused severely. Her brother and sister came in with their hands bandaged up because their mother burnt their hands with an iron because of misbehaving. But they have terrible scars. Every one of them have a story like that. That's me. That's mi tocaya in Spanish. That's her name is Maggie too. But this is just so you know how I grew up. This is where we bathed in Mexico. We helped each other. We always took care of each other. And this is also where we washed, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. This is where we ate our food, our meals. This is one of 3 tables where we sat down and ate our food every single day. And I was a horse trainer, so I took them on rides. And this is me. When I graduated high school, I got recruited to play basketball by the Mexican national team. I waited for them to call me for 3 months. Then one day I went out and played football with my brothers, and I broke my collarbone. And 3 days later, they called me. They wanted me to go, and I couldn't go, and I thought my dreams were over. But 4 months later, my parents took a big bus trip with my 68 brothers and sisters and traveled throughout the U.S. And they actually stopped at St. Agnes School in Canala City. And there was a basketball court there, and me and my siblings started to play basketball. And there happened to be the coach at the University of Charleston. And she said, "Who is that?" So she went around and looked for my father, and he told him, "I want her to come play for me." So that's how I came here. I went to school here. I graduated with a degree in interior design. It was really tough for me because when I first came here, I came from a very secluded area in Mexico called Área de Rosales, Rancho de las Cañas. So I didn't know any English, and I loved the fact that UC had my teachers one-on-one with them, that I could, you know, it was like learning how to read and write again, but with their support, I was able to make it. After graduation, I started working for an interior design company. I also started making my salsas and dips for friends, and everybody told me, you should sell them. And I said, you're nuts. It took $40 to make a gallon of salsa, and about 3 hours to chop and mix the ingredients. Now it only takes me 15 seconds to do 5 gallons, so it's good. In 2004, my friends forced me to enter a salsa competition in West Virginia, and I won by unanimous vote, and that was my aha moment. So I started Maggie Salsa in 2004, and I really had no idea how to start a business. When I went to college, I only took one business class, Business 101, and that's it. But that didn't stop me. I remember my main research resource was Google, and that's pretty much it. So I made up a long list of stores to call to see if they would want to carry my products from the smallest to the largest. The first 90 stores that I called told me, no, we don't want your products. So I didn't give up there. I even called local manufacturers, and I said, how did you do it? Can you give me some advice? How did you get into these stores? And every single one of them told me, they're not going to listen to you. It took us 4 years to get in, basically telling me to give up. I don't know if you've seen the movie The Pursuit of Happiness. Something very similar happened to me in 2004. That list that I had, where the 90 stores said no, I actually took it and flipped it around to the largest stores. So I called the Whole Foods Markets, which is the largest organic retailer in the United States. They called me the next day and they said, we heard about you, we want to buy your products. We want to look at your products, when can you come? And I said, when do you guys meet next? And he said, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. It was 6 p.m. on Wednesday, so they met the next day. So I literally packed up my car and drove all night and met with them, presented my products to them, and they went nuts. They said, when can we have them? So I will never forget, I went from making 200 pounds to their first order was 10,000 pounds of salsa. And it was me and another girl, and I'm not kidding you, my hand was literally stuck like this for an entire week because we had to fill containers by hand, 10,000 of them. So at that time I had become vice president of an interior design firm, and I went back and resigned my position to take on my business, and the rest is history. When I started this business, I did everything. I designed my own logos, I did my own website, I learned everything to start a business without getting in debt, and I grew it that way for many, many years. And so one of the things that I'll never forget is when I got my truck driver's license. Yes, I drove my trucks too. And the first truck that I ever rented, I remember it was terrible. It had these wires coming out of the dashboard. The seat, it was so old that it bounced, but I couldn't adjust it, and I'm a short person, so I remember driving that truck, and I was so like nervous, and I was sweating because it kept going like this, you know, and everybody was looking at me, and I was trying to gear it up, but I couldn't touch the pedal, so so I pulled to the side of the road, and parked the truck and found me a little piece of wood block and duct taped it to my foot. And I drove 8 hours and met the deadline. I delivered the product. That was the best thing that I'll never forget. No is not an answer. But I have built an empire. You can find our products in 30 states. We sell to retailers like Walmart, Sam's, Harris Teeter, Whole Foods markets, Kroger, and Weis markets, and growing. Going back to my family, I really grew up very poor and often struggled, but my parents always said, you know, living by faith is what it takes to be in this situation that we were in. Several weeks ago, I found that my family in Mexico had only lettuce and sugar to eat for an entire week, and it really broke my heart because it took me back exactly where I was when I was growing up. So I have started a new movement and in a nonprofit organization called Pound for Pound. And for every pound a customer purchases, 1 pound of product is donated to a hungry child around the world. If it wasn't for the University of Charleston and my basketball scholarship, I would have not be standing here today making a difference in my community and in the world. When I started my company, somebody gave me $800, and that's it. I grew it without actually getting in debt, which is very few people have done that. Someone gave me a hand up with no strings attached. I just want to say thank you for continuing to give to the University of Charleston, giving a hand up, and I am one of your fruits. Thank you.